Pustaka Negeri Sarawak. MIRI is the northern node for Pustaka Negeri Sarawak, gathering for information and research needs of MIRI's population as well as neighboring towns and districts around Sarawak northern region. It is a research and reference library and is linked to Pustaka Negeri Sarawak using ICT infrastructure and with the concept of hybrid library, a combination of print as well as electronic and digital information resources. It is a place that will serve as a community center of knowledge and cultural enlightenment. It also serves as a place for educational and a cultural exchange programs and participate in many other regularly conducted activities. Our vision is to be the reservoir and fountain of information and knowledge to the state. Our mission to provide access to information resources and to preserve Sarawak intellectual heritage. Our objective to promote acclarations of knowledge in the state. Pustaka Negeri Sarawak, MIRI is designed as a tranquil oasis acting as the symbolic apex of information technology in the civic heart of MIRI Resort City.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Sarawak Futures podcast. I'm delighted to be your moderator for today's conversations where we explore a topic that is becoming increasingly important, not just for Sarawak but for the world, which is empowering sustainability through tourism and environmental governance. So when people about the word tourism, many immediately think of environment and nature, beautiful destination, food, cultures, memorable experiences, right? But behind every thriving tourism industry lies an important question. How do we grow tourism without compromising the environment and the well-being of future generations? So this is where sustainability becomes more than just a buzzword, right? A viral. So Sarawak is uniquely positioned in these conversations. We are blessed with extraordinary landscape, rich indigenous heritage, vibrant cultures, and so many other things, right? But at the same time, we are navigating rapid development and transformations under the visions of the post-COVID-19 development strategy, or PCDS 2030. Okay, PCDS 2030. Today, we will discuss how tourism, sustainability, and environmental governance intersects into Sarawak futures. And to guide us through these conversations, we are very honored to have two distinguished guests with us. So we have Mr. Julian bin Alin, the Deputy Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts, as well as Madam Sinanawati the Environment Control Officer of Natural Resources and Environment Board. Welcome aboard. Right. So, thank you for joining us today. So before we begin, kita berkenalan lah. Let's berkenalan a little bit. So maybe you can introduce your role and share what sustainability means from your agency's perspective. Yeah, can I probably, Mr. Julian would want to go first?
Thank you, Farah. Very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julian from Ministry of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts. So tourism is our key work, in this ministry. Tourism, when we're talking about tourism, we want to make tourism as a sector that contribute to the socio-economic of the people, uplifting the standard, but without jeopardizing the environment. This is where, when we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about something that the present generation is enjoying, and then that's what we want to leave for the future generation as well, to enjoy. So this is our role while we developing our tourism sector. We want to make sure it is not destructive, meaning that we are complementing whatever sustainability initiative that we have in the state, all right? I think that's all what I can say first for this stage. Over to you.
Yes, Madam Sinanawati, how do you feel about it? What's your agency role in this?
All right. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be part of this podcast, and good afternoon. Okay, my name is Sinanawati Marto, and I'm a Senior Environmental Control Officer, currently stationed in NRB MIRI divisions. Okay, when we talk about environment in Sarawak particularly, we are very blessed, because the Sarawak state government, we are able to enforce our own ordinance, which is NREO, Natural Resources Ordinance. And we have the privilege to take care of our natural resources and how we're going to use it. And so you know that Sarawak is blessed with a lot of rich biodiversity. We have a lot of rivers. And we are proud to be a Sarawakian. Perhaps we will discuss more on the roles of NREB in our further question, because if you want to talk about environment, is a very vast, very big topic for us to discuss. And for Sarawak, we can say that everything under the skies is under the purview or jurisdictions of NREB. I think that's all for the moment for the introductions. Thank you, Ms. Farah.
Thank you. I'm already super excited to listen more. So, all right. So before we begin, so let's see, right? So Sarawak development journey is guided by these big goals, right? The PCDS 2020, right? So where economic sustainability expected to go hand in hand. So probably we can start first. Like, how does sustainable tourism contribute towards achieving this PCDS 2030 and SDG in general, Mr. Julian?
Okay, thank you. I had the privilege prior to my current position in Ministry of Tourism, I was with EPU, where we are the one who planned for the PCDS. So now I'm the implementer. So let me start with the big picture. When we're talking about tourism sector in the PCDS, we are talking to make Sarawak as a leading destination, especially for ecotourism, through responsible action, of course, So under PCDS, we have a big target. We're targeting about 11% contribution to GDP, 7.5% increase in the visitors arrival, 25% tourism employment, and 30% increase in community-based tourism. So what I'm trying to say is that the focus here, as you know, that under PCDS, we have three core pillars: the economic prosperity, social inclusivity, environmental sustainability. So when we're talking about the tourism sector, it encompasses all these three pillars. Okay, so this is very critical for us. While we're developing the tourism sector for the overall contribution to the economy, we need to make sure that tourism sector contribute directly to the local community while preserving our environment. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say that also, so now the focus is we have what we call the local community participation, community-based participation. This is the people that know what is their surrounding, where they have the belonging, you see. So this is among the core. When we're talking about sustainable development goal, okay, even now people are talking about ESG. So tourism is a very, very fragile industry. We are governed, or we abide, or we influenced by the challenges, especially at the global level. Whatever is there that we need to have to tackle, okay? So even when we're talking about SDG, like SDG 10, reducing inequalities, SDG 8 for economic growth, tourism sector contribute to all this, you see. So in general, this is what I can say that how it contribute to those PCDS as also SDG. Okay, over to you, please.
Okay, all right. So, so Mr. Julian have mentioned about the local-based participations just now, and it comes with many challenges. So, Madam Sinana, what do you think are the current challenges in balancing this tourism growth with environmental protections?
Yeah. Even though that we are, we always want the developments. You see, we do not want that. We don't have this perspective that protecting the environment is we go against the development. No, we have to understand the concept of the meaning of the sustain. It is something that is not only for today, but it's something that it can be prolonged. It's in a long run term. So when you talk about tourism, okay, I think the most biggest challenge is to make sure that this tourism sector's growth, it does not come at the expense of our very environment, what we have, to attract the visitors to Sarawak, especially at the first place. Sarawak is blessed with, like I mentioned earlier, we have a rich biodiversity. We have very beautiful natural landscapes. We have Niaca, we have Mulu, and we have unique cultural heritage. So as more people come and visit our destinations, I mean Sarawak specifically, we see the increase of pressures of the natural resources. You see, we'll evolve, of course, when there's people there, we will talk about waste management. We will talk about water consumptions. And of course, sometimes all these places, when you talk about the protected area, it's also involved the sensitive ecosystem. So it's very crucial. For example, I would say like tourism destinations, when it becomes too crowded, of course, we will have a lot of peoples, and they will, without any proper planning, it can lead into littering issues, habitat disturbance, or even degradations of the natural attractions. So the challenge is very real. It's about finding the balance, allowing the tourism sector's growth and also to contribute towards the economic growth, and of course involve the community livelihoods, while ensuring our forest, our rivers, and our wildlife and cultural assets remains protected, but not only for this current generations, but our future generations. So ultimately, we want a sustainable tourism, which is about managing a growth, which is responsibly, and rather than limiting the growth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting take, yeah. So also, Mr. Julian, you have mentioned something about the SDG 10, right? The sustainability and all that. But how is it actually important? How is it this sustainability becoming an important agenda in the tourism development? Why so?
Yeah, this is very important. Two things I look at it. Sarawak, as I said, focusing on ecotourism. Ecotourism is based on the nature. The nature is based on the environment. If we don't take care of our environment, the nature will be destroyed. Then our tourism industry overall will be destroyed. Cannot move. So that's why. In line with what is happening at the global level. Even at the global level now, they are also focusing on the sustainable tourism. We cannot run away. As I said, the tourism sector is very much influenced by the global challenge, and by the global, they scrutinize the destination. So that's why for Sarawak, now we are imposing this very, very important in our policy, sustainable tourism. Yeah. If you even look at the research by Booking.com, for example, 93% of travelers express strong desire to make more sustainable travel choice. This is what we try to look. Because if Sarawak we want to stay in the competition for tourism sector, we need to abide by the global direction. So you cannot run away from that because people might go to somewhere else. That's why we are making that sustainable tourism is top priority when we're talking about the tourism sector. Furthermore, for Sarawak, ecotourism is the core. It's the most important element of our industry that we are focusing on. Because we don't want to compete like, for example, our neighboring country, our neighboring state, they are focusing on the island, for example. Of course, island is there in Sabah. They are very famous with it. But we have our own. We have our own ecotourism. We have all our national parks that becoming the treasure, especially for our tourism industry. While we developing, utilizing or monetizing our national park, we are continue to preserve our environment. That's why the focus, the word sustainable tourism. Yeah.
Right, very interesting. Okay, all right. Madam Sinana, yeah, as an environment control officer, right? All right. How do you, based on your agency, how do you ensure environmental protections while supporting, the economic activities like these tourism? Because, for example, very interestingly, just now, Mr. Julian have mentioned the data from Booking.com, more than about, 70-ish, So how do you ensure this?
Yeah, we are very happy to hear that. I mean, Sarawak has become in the eyes within the outsiders, right? Okay, for NRB, I will focus, and we believe that the environmental protections and economic development should go hand in hand. They are not opposing goals. We should work together so for us to have a better future for Sarawak. So, for us as the enforcement bodies, our role is to ensure that any development or activities, including, of course, tourism projects, that are carried out responsibly and in compliance with the environmental requirements. Okay, through the environmental assessment, or generally known as EIA, the monitoring programs, the post EIA, and of course the regulatory oversight. We evaluate the potentials of the impact, and also we recommend the mitigation measures before any project proceeds. For instance, if a tourism development is proposed near a sensitive ecological area, okay, the environmental considerations must be incorporated into the planning process from the beginning. Okay, stringent requirements will be enforced, especially when it involves the river water sources. Okay, so our objective is quite simple. If I may generalize it, make it simplified, we want a development that creates the economic opportunities while maintaining the health and, of course, the integrity of our environment, especially for Sarawak.
Okay, very interesting points. I've gathered a few very interesting points. But okay, so probably for this segment too, I would want to talk more with Madam Sinana on the environmental governance and the conservations. Yeah, because tourism seems like it grows inevitably with the environmental pressure, right? So this natural leads to the questions of governance and conservation. So, as tourists expand, right, at the same time, protecting the ecosystem become increasingly important. So if you can actually talk us through, right? So how does INREB plays in ensuring environmental sustainability alongside rapid development and tourism activities? I know that you mentioned, for example, just now the development that maintain the environments and whatnot, but probably if you can talk more also, how do you actually address the environmental concern, right? Pollution, waste management, biodiversity, yeah, in the
Yeah.
tourist destinations.
Okay, environment issues in tourism destinations, it requires a very comprehensive approach actually, because environment and tourism, we are always interconnected. Okay, tourism, it depends heavily on of course, we understand the quality of the environment. So if the environment degradations occur, it can directly affect the visitors' experience and the sustainability of the tourism industry itself, which actually we do not want that to happen. Okay, so how do we address these issues? What we have been doing for the past few years, and we are trying also to improve ourselves. NRB, we work closely with the local authorities, tourism operators. It may be individual, or it can be a big corporate companies. Okay, government agency, which we always have our stakeholders engagements, researchers like Curtis, and of course local communities to address these concerns, such as pollution control, waste management, like I mentioned, humans and waste we cannot be separated, and of course the water quality protections and the biodiversity conservations. So our key area here is the environmental monitoring. All right, we do a regular basis of monitor river water quality, which is, we call it river monitoring water quality, which is conducted every year. And the environmental conditions of the river, we have to identify any potentials, the pollutions issues, and we have to ensure that our natural resources remain protected. Okay, this is particularly important actually, because many of our tourism destinations in Sarawak, especially, it's close linked to the river, the coastal areas, and of course forest and our protected ecosystems, like our total protected national park. For example, like I mentioned, like Mulu National Park, Nia National Park, Bako National Park, and even the Semenggok Nature Reserve. These places, they do attract visitors from all over the places. So that is our roles, okay, for us to protect these required ongoing efforts to minimize the pollutions, okay, by monitoring whatever the activity or development surroundings. Like I mentioned before, any projects been awarded to that particular developers, we have to make sure what are the environmental impact potentials that will be foreseen, and that is where we come in, and we will try to come up with the best mitigation measures. It's not to say that we avoid the pollutions, but at the best as we can to minimize the pollutions or the environmental impact. As examples for Miri, recently we have this river conservations through collaboration with Curtin universities, where we have this environmental DNA. I mean, I think you're familiar, you're smiling, the eDNA projects that we have.
Yeah.
Yes. So by this technology, it's been explored on the Sungai Miri itself. So we have a better understanding, and when we have a better understanding of what's the environmental DNA that we have along Sungai Miri, so we can monitor the aquatic biodiversity. And this also allows us to detect the species, the presence, and assess the ecosystem health using these innovative scientific methods. This one I have to give credits to Curtin University for helping us in having this eDNA successfully been done. So besides that, waste management is also another critical issues. Okay, when the visitors numbers they increase, so does the volume of the waste generated. So this is again why the public awareness campaign, recycling initiative, all programs such e-waste that we have with Miri councils, Miri city councils, collections. This is the drive that we have together, collaboration between these government agencies for us to encourage a responsible waste disposal and reducing the environmental pollutions within the Sarawak itself. So biodiversity conservation is also, Ms. Farah, is very important to Sarawak, because we have a very beautiful rainforest, and we are among the most biodiverse ecosystem in the world. I mean, we are blessed to be in Sarawak. So these are the home to our iconic species, right? Such as the orangutan, hornbills, proboscis monkey, and of course countless plant species that contribute to the Sarawak identity as a nature-based tourism destinations. So in protecting our nature, protecting our river and forest, wildlife, our natural ecosystem is not only about conservation. It's also about safeguarding the very asset that support the tourism sector, our local livelihoods, and the quality of our life and our future generations. You see, a healthy environment is the good foundations of sustainable tourism. I would say that. Yes, Ms. Farah.
Right. Yeah, I'm super excited. You have mentioned some of the initiative. You mentioned Curtin, my institution, so I'm super proud of it as well. Also, you have mentioned so many, initiative, the natural parks. You mentioned so many natural parks and the river conservations and whatnot. Yeah, but what do you feel about the public awareness? How important is it, and the community participations? Because I'm sure that from your agency, you have done very exhaustively, very a lot, right? But how about public community? Like how does it actually build any synergy between your agency and also the public community?
You see, the effort for us to protect the environment is not solely based on the enforcement itself. Public awareness, public communities collaboration is very important, because these people, they are the local people who is living within that surrounding. So the strong ownership or stewardships that they have towards the environment is very important. You see, so far I would say that for Sarawakian, we have a very good support from our local community. The reason why I would say that, like I mentioned, eDNA is a very successful project with the involvement of more than 100 participants or volunteers answering the question as helping us to identify the local species, the local fishes that's along the Sungai River. I mean, without their support, without their volunteers, I don't think that we can able to gather all this data because Sungai Miri is a very big river, and it's I would say in the year of 2024 it is classified as the most polluted river. But I'm proud to say in 2025 last year it can be categorized under a non-polluted river. So these are the efforts that it shows. You see, it's not only done by the local agencies, by the enforcement, but also with the collaborations of the people surrounding. The local people is our key importance roles in protecting the environment. Yeah.
That just make me a very proud Sarawakian here.
Yes.
All
So do
right.
I, Miss Hera.
Right. So that give a very strong understanding from a policy standpoint. Yeah. So maybe I'm curious to hear from the tourism side. So Mr. Julian, yeah, maybe you can tell us how is Ministry of Tourism promoting sustainable and responsible tourism practices in Malaysia and Sarawak.
Yeah, first of all, we would like to, our appreciation to NREB for continue to make sure our environment is clean so that we can promote it to the tourists, you see. Then we can continue with our vision to make Sarawak as a leading eco-tourism destination. Because without the enforcement of, from NREB, for example, we might not be able to convince the tourists that this is the place, this is the best ecotourism destination in the world, for example, which is in Sarawak. Okay. As for MTCP, we promote sustainable, responsible tourism. Of course, we have the policy. From the policy to the implementation and action on the ground. We have several responsible tourism initiatives. So what we're focusing on is that focusing on the activity that benefit the local communities, preserve cultural heritage while minimizing environmental impact, as well as create meaningful experience for the visitors. Because as I mentioned, tourism is a bit tricky. They need to look into the whole ecosystem, the whole segment, yeah, so that the Sarawak will continue to become the preferred destination. If I may highlight some of the event or some of the initiative, I think everybody aware about Rainforest World Music Festival, which is coming up by end of this week. Rainforest bring in about 26,000 spectators throughout the 3 days, which is a big number. Imagine if we don't have something specific initiative to prevent the waste, for example. The area, I don't know, I cannot imagine how we can manage the area with the big number of spectators. So one of the initiatives undertaken by ministry together with Sarawak Tourism Board is what we call promoting waste reduction, encouraging use of reusable items, supporting local artisan and indigenous, as well as one important part is that part of the ticket revenue is being used for the CSR initiative for the tree planting. This is how the government or the ministry, through the ministry and STB, we contribute back to the environment. With the income that we have from the event, we contribute back to the environment. One of the things that synonym with the rainforest nowadays is that bring your own bottle, meaning that there will be no people selling mineral water in a plastic bottle. So bring your bottle, bring your own bottle, reduce waste. Yeah, I think this among the thing that because this is part of our strategy, what we call it, offsetting the carbon footprint for each of the spectator. Imagine with the number, as I mentioned, 26,000 last year. If we don't do an initiative, we might be destroying the environment, giving some negative impact to the environment. So this is among the initiative undertaken by the ministry as well as by the agency and our ministry. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So we've bring in 26,000. Oh, that's a very great number, right?
Yeah.
Right. But also you mentioned a little bit about, how tourism can be a little bit tricky, right? So I would want to ask you, like, are there any efforts that are being made to preserve cultural heritage and natural attractions while, supporting tourism development? Because like you said, it can be a little bit tricky, but is there any efforts that have been made so far from the ministry?
I mean, from which angle you're talking about? Sorry.
Because you mentioned about, right, the ecotourism have contributed to both economic growth and also environmental conservations, right?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned and examples of bring your own bottle and whatnot. I think this is a very good initiative. But at the same time, is there any other effort that have been done or initiated by?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the part, two major effort that we are undertaking is one is focusing on the community base.
Mm-hmm.
This is another one is the homestay program because certain attraction or destination are within the proximity of a community or for long house, for example. What we're trying to do is that give the opportunity for the local community, for example, those in the long house, the villages, to benefit from the economic return of the tourism activities around them, rather than focusing on the big conglomerate coming in, investing, whereby the local community only become, workers. So now we're developing the ecotourism, get the homestay, get the community operate it, get the community benefit from it. This is how we want to make sure that it contribute to the income, to the economic livelihood of the local people. And then at the same time, you know that while you are residing in that community or in that village, surrounding your surrounding is your belonging. So they have more sense of belonging in protecting the environment around them, especially, for example, the rivers, the forest around the villages. You know? So this is part of the strategy, not only implementing by Sarawak, but I can foresee that this also being done in other developed countries. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I do believe that ministry is doing so much, right, to help out, to actually, for the ecosystem and not what. But again, if we are, let's say I'm in this part, at this party, but right, however, how about the other party? What do you think, the tourists can do, to be more responsible during their travels? What are your opinions? Because it seems like ministry, that I'm very sure Ministry of Tourism, Creative Industry, together with NREB are doing so much, but how about the tourists themselves? What can they do, Mr. Julian?
Okay, the next question, right? We're talking about the cultural heritage, right? No? Am I
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Because this is part of the main responsibility of the Ministry of Tourism. While we're talking about environment, we're also talking about their culture and heritage. Yeah. This is very important treasures for Sarawak. So we are implementing what we call a dual track approach. So we have the environment surrounding, we have the cultural heritage that integrate with the environment. Yeah. This is where the ministry or the government, we have what we call a Dana Mudah Cara Warisan dan Kesenian. Yeah. This is where we are providing a support fund to those community, to those associations to preserve culture and heritage as well as something that related to their environment. So the government is approving about 10 million a year for this grant to support the culture and heritage. I'm giving you, for example, this include those preservation of traditional costume, traditional food, traditional music equipments. Nowadays people can see that there's a lot of interest into the traditional costume, like what they call baju puas, kain bore, and all that. So ministry are actively funding all this. Almost every month we have those funding.
Right.
And then secondly, what I would like to talk about is about the natural attraction. Of course, this is with the collaboration with NREB, State Forestry, Sarawak Forestry Corporation. As you all know, Sarawak, we have a huge area, about 2.4 million hectares. So what the government doing is that 1 million to be preserved as a totally protected area in the form of national park, in the forms of forest reserve, as well as the form of wildlife sanctuary. So with this, the government is developing this area or monetizing this area for the tourism purposes, meaning that whoever residing the settlement within those nearby the area will have some benefit. We have a number of what we call that national park. I have the figure that I have here about 47 national park, but not all national park being open for public. Okay, some are totally for preservation and conservation. What I'm trying to say that there are two prongs here. While we opening national park like Mulu and Nia for the public for the purpose of tourism, it contributes significantly to the economy. At the same time, there are other national parks that are being preserved purely for conservation, but in the future, we might be able to utilize or open this up for the tourism, the eco tourism destination. So this is where the proof of the sustainability, the sustainable approach that the government is doing while we have all the 1 million hectares of area, but we are not opening all. But slowly in the future with a very strict guideline. Yeah. So that's what I can say on that part. Yeah. Now.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a very, interesting, very insightful, very in-depth, approach on how to conserve tourism development, in Sarawak. Yeah, I think he's doing a very good job in that, I must say. So, all right, maybe we can try to expand our discussions into the collaborations and future aspirations, right? So this is already our next segment, yeah. So, Madam Sinana, if I can ask you first, yeah, how important do you think is the collaboration between government agencies, industry players, local communities, and NGOs in achieving sustainability goals?
Okay. Um, collaboration is absolutely essential in order for us to have a better tourism sectors, establishments, and also for the sake of our natural resources. So because we know that there is no single organizations that can achieve sustainability alone, and we have to work hands with hands. Okay, so as for the government agencies, normally what we do is, of course, we will involve in terms of the policies. We look into the oversight of the Sarawak benefits as a whole, holistically. So for the part of the industries, they always contribute towards of the innovations and, of course, investment, their technologies. And with the right NGOs, they also offer us some expertise and also advocacy. So like I mentioned also, the communities also, they are our key indicators, they are our key performers to provide the local knowledge and also, of course, towards the environmental stewardships. So when all these stakeholders, when we work together towards a common goal, okay, we are much likely achieve a meaningful and, of course, a lasting outcomes, which is what we want, a striving future striving for Sarawak. So sustainability will succeed. I'm sure, and I believe that when everyone has a role and everyone takes their own ownerships. Yes, Ms. Sarah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Do you want to add on that, Mr. Julian? Anything on the collaborations and future aspirations from?
But yeah, for us, for the tourism industry to work, the whole ecosystem need to be managed and coordinated properly. Then it requires collaboration from all the industry players and the stakeholders. Of course, from our ministry side, especially from the tourism industry, we are involving all the stakeholders like the association, the Sarawak Tourism Federation, or that. Also, we are involving the local association, the community association. This is where we are working closely with the divisional tourism task group so that everybody will play their role. So the important point is that all the angle of the tourism ecosystem or something that have influence on the tourism industry need to be coordinated properly. And then the voice of the stakeholders, the industry players need to be heard. So that while we're developing it, it need to give some benefit to all the stakeholders and the industry players. Yeah.
Right. Okay. How about younger generations? What do you take on this? Is there any message that both of you would want to, give in regarding the sustainability and also responsible tourism for our younger generations? Anybody wants to go first?
Maybe I'll
Yeah,
take this first, yeah?
Madam
Okay.
first. Go
All
ahead.
right. So because younger generations are our patient, we want to educate them in terms of the stewardships of the environment. So our message is very simple here, and we would like to listener to embrace them. The simple message is the sustainability. It starts with everyday choices. Okay, so younger generations normally why we are so excited when we talk about younger generations. These are a group of tremendous influence in shaping our future attitudes, behaviors, and of course the innovations. They are our futures. So whether it's reducing waste, supporting the environmentally responsible businesses, conserving resources, or respecting local cultures and ecosystem when traveling, because the youngest, they love to travel, they have their own bucket list, and they are our mini duta, you see. Yeah. So this every actions that these youngsters taken is very important. They have to understand that we are not only inheriting the future, they are actually actively creating it. So that's why NRB is also emphasizing on giving the educations to the students, the schools. As we have PALS, if you remember back in 2025, NRB, we have this Malaysian's Book of Record, where we have the most biggest school network in Malaysia. Yeah, we call it PALS, Pencipta Alam Sekitar. So we are very excited, and we are also actively involved with the higher institutions, like I mentioned, Curtin. I always mention Curtin. Curtin has been very actively involved in having these environmental stewardships building up along this community, and also next month we're going to have also collaborations with Curtins on the focusing the local communities along the Sungai Miri River, and also we are targeting schools, primary schools and secondary schools. Okay. So yeah, we are very patient when we talk about young generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Mr. Julian, do you want to add on that?
Okay, just now in the beginning when I just defined the sustainability, I was saying that is to make sure what we have today, what we enjoy today, also to be enjoyed by the future generation. So to the youth, you are the future generation. So while we preserve today for you tomorrow, you need to preserve tomorrow for the future. So the choices you have to make as a travelers, as a consumers, professional will dictate the survival of our planet. Okay, embrace the heritage. Be vocal about the environmental accountability, and use the most important part. Use your digital fluency to champion sustainable practice. Because nowadays we cannot deny that younger generation, the youth especially, are everywhere on the local media, social media, or digital platform. Use that digital to champion, to protect our sustainable future, especially in relation to the environment. Just now, I also mentioned that Sarawak is preserving about more than 60% of our environment. So continue to have that rather than reduce it in the future. Okay. So that's all what I can say about the future.
Oh, right. Thank you so much. I feel so much educated by both of you today. There's so much that the data that you have given me and all the initiative, even the messages. I'm not that young, but yeah, I do feel like it actually very very much echo with me. So I would definitely make sure that it goes to my students in 13. All right, and I believe that we have covered many interesting and important dimensions today, right? From policy to governance, to community to implementation. It's hard to say this, but we almost approach the end of our podcast today. Yeah, masa begitu menceburui kita lah. But probably if I can ask you, maybe to sum up, your last takeaway on our podcast today. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Is there anything that you want to relay on, probably on the practical actions individual can start today, or say how does the future for Sarawak look like? Yeah. Anyone who want to go first?
Okay, just remember one thing, when we're talking about tourism versus conservation, they are not enemies. They have to work each other, that to complement each other. They are partners. So when we manage responsibly, tourism is the most powerful tool. We have to fund environmental protection and celebrate cultural identity, transforming visitors into lifelong conservation ambassadors. Because while we're developing, monetizing through our environment, it will be returned back to the environment as what the example for the Rainforest World Music Festival that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, that's what I can say about that. Maybe over to Madam Sina.
Thank you, Tuan. Yeah, as for me, I would like to say that start with a small thing, but consistent actions. You see, just simple. I would say simple. Reduce waste. Avoid single-use plastic, like Tuan was mentioning. There is no single-use plastic during the festival. Thank you very much, Tuan, for that. Yeah, conserve the energy and water, and practice responsible behavior whenever you travel. So I like there's the one saying that I like to share with us here. We don't have to change the world overnight. Okay, small steps, but taken consistently, it can lead to a much bigger impact. So every sustainable choice that we make today, believe it, no matter how small it may seem, it does contribute to a healthier environment and more sustainable future. Well, when millions of people, when they make a better choices every day, even those small little actions collectively, I believe it can create a significant positive change. Sustainability is not about perfections. It's about making conscious decisions and continuously improving. So one step at a time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for
That
the
is a very powerful statement.
yeah.
Yes, we are very passionate to take care
In
of the
fact, I want to
environment.
say also start with your next purchase. Bring your own bag.
Oh, yeah, good.
Bring your
Yeah.
own bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will be a powerful action, no matter how small you start with. Is it?
Correct.
In relation to Madam Sina's statement. Yeah.
Thank you
Right.
very much, Tom.
Yeah. Oh, it's unfortunate that we are actually at the end of our podcast today. But if I may sum up a little bit, from what I have gathered from our, very distinguished panelists today, Madam Sinanawarti, all right, and also Mr. Julin, right? So the environment government plays a very vital role in ensuring development, to remain responsible, accountable, and future-oriented, future focused. The strong policies, the effective enforcement, and definitely the community participations are all essential in safeguarding our resources. Also, that I learned very much that the sustainable tourism is not simply about attracting more visitors. It is about ensuring the tourism create meaningful benefits, not just for the local communities, but for the cultural heritage, to preserve the natural environments. That actually makes Sarawak very special. So I think in today's conversation, it reminds us that the sustainability is not merely about protecting nature. It is about creating balance, economic growth, environment, and also the social well-being. This is my takeaway on our conversation today. But I also want to add on, most importantly, this discussion actually highlight that achieving the aspirations of the PCDA's 2030 really requires collective effort. Sustainability cannot be driven by government agencies alone. It definitely requires collaborations between policymakers, industries, local communities, educators, and basically all individuals, all Sarawakians, and right. So what both our panelists have mentioned and also echoed to me is that what kind of Sarawak do we want our future generations have later on. So this answer alone will answer what is our commitment to the sustainability of our state. I think on this note, I think we will end here, right? So I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our distinguished guests, right, for sharing their valuable insights and expertise with us today. Thank you so much, Madam Sinana, and also Mr. Julian Amin. Thank you so much, right? Thank you for helping us better understand the importance between tourism, sustainability, and environmental governance. Also, I must say that a very special thank you to Pustaka Negeri Sarawak, right, for inviting me as a moderator today, and also of course for the continuous commitment in promoting knowledge sharing, community engagement, and future focused Sarawak in general. So thank you so much to all our listeners. Thank you for joining us, and until next episode of Sarawak Futures Podcast. So say thank you very much and take care and hope to see you again. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Farah, and also thank you to the Pustaka Degree.
Thank you, Pustaka. Thank you, Madam Miss. It's our pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.